Hey, I'm Chester Elton, your host of Leading with Gratitude Live, the Apostle of Appreciation, coming to you live and in color from Summit, New Jersey, which I consider the gratitude viral epicenter of the planet. This is our little teaser show before tomorrow. I want to introduce to you my good friend, Nick Bradley. He is so energetic. He's doing so many interesting things with entrepreneurs all over the place. And we want to give you just a little sample tonight of what we're going to spend 30 minutes doing tomorrow, where we'll give you some great information and inspiration and your roadmap to gratitude. But welcome to the show, Nick.
Hey, Chester, listen, it's always a pleasure to be speaking with you. So I'm very happy to be here this evening because it's kind of late here in the UK.
Yeah. And we're going to keep our inside voices because I know your daughter's already asleep. So we'll be
Yeah. So if we do, no, to be frank about that, if we do get a little visitor, I apologize, but it's a family show, right? And, we're grateful for our families and our lives. So there we are.
Yeah, there you go. We love little visitors. You've done so much. You've scaled up companies, you've bought and sold companies, and now you've actually gone from not only that entrepreneurial bent, you've become a teacher on how to do that. And I pulled this quote off of one of your LinkedIn Live or LinkedIn posts today, and I love this. You said, "I'm a big believer that you're always growing, always learning. That's what life's about. My whole ambition is to build," and I love this word, "my whole ambition is to build an empire and create more impact. And I like to be able to help other people do that as well." I think that's such an inspiring, mission statement. How did you get to that?
Everything in there, it's funny when you kind of get a quote read back to you. You kind of go, yeah, I said that. No, I fundamentally believe in everything that I said in that because, for me, there's a couple of different things there. I believe that when you learn, you're always growing. You're always kind of trying to learn new skills, to learn new perspectives, have different experiences in life. And everything that I've achieved, be that how I've helped other people, how I've kind of, done the things that you described in the beginning, has all come off learning. And there was a really interesting quote the other day. I think it was by Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think it was like this video he did a few years ago where he says that, he's not a self-made man. He's had to stand on the shoulders of giants to get to where he is. And I have huge admiration and respect for the mentors that I've had, the people who have led me on my way to be able to do those things. And, the second piece is this empire piece, because I talk about that a lot because I think sometimes the word empire gets a bad rap. People kind of think of it in this idea that if you're an empire builder in a business, then you're kind of trying to take all the resources from other people and you're thinking maybe selfishly. But I think of empires differently. I think that empires have the ability to be a force for good in the world. And I think empires, because of the sheer scale of what they are, can create a bigger impact. And I think, as we're going through so much change in the world right now, we're seeing the environment in a place that we've never seen it before. I think entrepreneurship has a leading role. People stepping up and leading and changing things through entrepreneurship, creating empires, creating these big entities with bigger missions is going to be one of the things that changes and gets things back. Maybe not to what we were before, but gets things to a place where we're really, really thriving again.
Well, it is interesting. You talk about the negative connotation of empire. I mean, immediately when I read that, I thought of Death Star. Next building a Death Star. Let's not talk about Star Wars, mate. Otherwise, we're going to go off track. I love Star Wars. Yeah, yes. Let's not go down there because I almost went down the rabbit hole in that very moment. Hey, here's the thing that I love that you've said, because as entrepreneurs and as business builders, you really can have that ability to pivot and do some good in the world. Whereas I think we're seeing a lot of governments, even local governments, can kind of get bogged down in the red tape and the minutia of how things are done, whereas businesses can pivot quite quickly when it comes to zero carbon footprint or cleaning up the environment or creating jobs and so on. Is that kind of where you're going with this good empire that you're building?
Yeah, and also what I'm finding, I mean, I work in the world of investment as well. So my background was 10 years in private equity and venture capital and those sort of interesting entities. And what I'm finding now is there's much more of a push towards the concept. It's called conscious capitalism, which is just a term, right? But the idea is that it's not good enough anymore for particularly some of these fast growth companies to just go out there and make money. Okay, now of course investors want to get a return and all that sort of stuff, but there's much more interest in this kind of, hey, you can make an impact as well as you can make money. And in fact, the bigger companies, the ones that are really out there, we're talking about the Amazons of this world, the Facebooks, they're starting now more than ever to start to look at the societies, the communities in their geographies and starting to think about how they can share, let's call it, some of the resources. And so that's what I mean by empires. I mean, even today, there was a big thing that Facebook did where they started, giving out these grants. I think it's 30,000 businesses globally. Wow. And I think that's interesting, right? Some people might be cynical about that and say, oh, that's a CSER thing. But I think that's an example of an empire as a force for good, because it's no longer acceptable for these people to kind of sit in ivory towers and just, make money for investors where, greed is good and all that sort of thing.
Well, and the value of some of these companies is just mind-boggling, right? I have a nephew that works at Amazon, and their commitment to have a zero carbon footprint by 2030 with electric delivery vehicles and on and on. And you take a look at that and you say, that wasn't mandated to them by local government. They saw a need and just did it, right?
Yeah, and to your point around governments, there's a bit where I think it's difficult right now and I'm in the UK, you're in the US. It's difficult right now for governments to kind of work out what the hell's going on here, and that's why I don't sit there and sort of throw rocks at that and say, well, you guys should be doing better. I think the media, and I did 15 years working in the media, so I know how it works, can be very parochial and very challenging. My point is that, businesses, big businesses, empires need to also step into that space. It's no longer that we should rely on governments. It's, the businesses these days are just so big. They have so much influence. They can make a bigger impact.
It's interesting. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about your 4 things. And it's really interesting, where we say, hey, here's great information. Here's some great stories. What are some tools, some ideas we can take away? And I love your we'll call them the basic 4 for lack of another word. But you say, you want your audiences, the people that you teach, you want them to be grateful, be brave, have faith, and show up. Yeah, write those down.
It's my mantra. I've almost got that as a tattoo somewhere. Actually, I haven't, but I, there isn't a day that goes by that I don't say that, because it's a affirmation for me. And the success I've had and the people I've been able to help has come from those 4 things. But yeah, it was an epiphany. We'll talk about it more probably tomorrow, but it was an epiphany how I discovered those things. But it's I think it aligns very much with your message as well. And stuff that you're saying about.
I've got to grab, we've got to give the commercial. It's Leading with Gratitude by the book, right?
It's a great book. I've read that book. It's a great book.
It is a great book.
It is.
Here's the thing that I love, and I just want to, because we promised 10 minutes and we're coming up to 10 minutes here pretty quick. I love number 4, which is show up. To me, there's just power. I did some work in some inner city, mentoring some young men in East Orange. I know it's Orange. It was just so kismet. And what was really interesting to me is the day I showed up to say, hey, I'm going to help you get through high school. I'm going to help you get into university and do some things. It was a faith-based organization, or my church. They wanted to know more than anything, was I going to come back the next week? And it was so fascinating to me that it took about 8 weeks for them to truly believe that I was going to keep coming back. And as soon as they knew I was going to show up, everything else changed. So give me your show up story, and then we're going to throw out the teaser, and we'll talk about it more tomorrow.
All right, I'll keep it brief and succinct. Show up for me is one of the secrets to success in anything in life. And I often think that, just by showing up, you may not have the answer. You may not know how things are going to turn out. You might be scared, but you know what? Half the battle is showing up. So for me, it's about, just throwing yourself in there, taking action, trying stuff that's new, because quite often the thing that you think is going to happen, that's you're fearful of, doesn't happen. And usually something astounding and amazing happens. So I think it's something that I believe in massively. Yeah.
Yeah. Couldn't agree with you more. My dad used to say, hey, show up. You never know. Right.
That's it. That's exactly right.
Yeah. And if you don't show up, for sure. Right. Nothing's going to happen if you don't show up. Well, listen, He is Nick Bradley. I'm Chester Elton, the Apostle of Appreciation. Nick is going to bring you more energy than you can stand, some great ideas, how to scale up your business, how to show up for your people, how to be grateful. It's always a pleasure to spend some time with Nick. It's 1:00. Actually, we're going to do it 1:15 tomorrow because we've got a bit of a bumper. I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute. I hope you'll join us on LinkedIn Live. It's brought to you by the great people on the Methods Network. We're going to have a ton of fun. I hope you'll show up. Nick, any parting words for the people that have tuned in tonight that for sure will tune in tomorrow?
No, and just to say that there's some great comments coming through here, and people have kind of really resonated with that mantra. So I'm grateful to be here, and I can't wait to be on the show with you again tomorrow. So thank you. Excellent. Tomorrow, Leading with Gratitude Live, 1 p.m. Eastern, the famous, the energetic, the wonderful Nick Bradley. Don't miss it. See you then, guys. Cheers.